is Bitcoin from a first principles viewpoint, from a systems engineering viewpoint? Yeah, I think it's very similar to agrarian society, the first civilizations that emerged. I think a bunch of people have agreed to a new rule of law. They're volunteering to participate in this new rule of law, written in C++ instead of on a tablet like they did it back in the day, or instead of on like a piece of paper. So it's a rule of law. It's a group of people. They write that rule of law in C++. They vote on that rule of law through their nodes. That's their legislator, the nodal network. So like I've got a node downstairs. That's my elected representative that votes for me.
And you choose. That's interesting. It's a direct legislature because you choose the rules.
Yeah, and I vote. It's one for one vote. Like, there's not there's not a small amount of legislators for a large amount of people. It's a large amount of so like I'm basically carrying the power of a lawmaker by running my node. Okay, what are we doing? Well, we're pulling our resources together to pay our power projectors to defend us. Okay, so like when we monetize Bitcoin and then a fee gets sent to the miner network, and I know people get salty for me to bring it up, but it's important to bring it up. Right now, it's not permanent, it's limited, and it's decreasing exponentially. But right now, Bitcoin is printed. We are printing Bitcoin to give to our defenders, our power projectors. So even if they don't get fees, they get the block subsidy. So we're pulling resources together to pay for power projectors to defend our access to our underlying property, which we're calling Satoshis.
The one caveat, sorry, on the debasement though, is there's zero unexpected debasement.
Right. They can't change it unless we vote to. Yes. It's a lot better system because it takes the human out of the legislation loop for the most part. Yeah. And then the defenders take that money, they build a defense industrial complex where they specialize in projecting power in increasingly clever ways in order to make it too expensive to attack the property. Sound familiar? And by the way, that technology is literally military technology.
Encryption.
TCP/IP and SHA from the NSA, SHA. So it's, instead of land, the property Satoshis, instead of kinetic power projection, it's electric power projection, but it's still joules per second. And because you're projecting power, it's still permissionless. You have the ability to countervail the people who are writing the ledger if they decide to deny you access to your property. That's how you achieve permissionless and trustless. I don't have to trust my miners to not denial of service attack me if I can just mine myself. I can project power myself. I'll earn my ability to have access to my property. And best of all, it takes the humans out of the loop. So there's no slimy politicians channeling their money away from effective defense or making insincere arguments that justify what is really their private agenda. And then on the defense side, so that's on the legislative side. On the defense side, there's no soldiers that have to risk their life to participate in the power projection competition. So that's important to bring up. It's literally the same physics. It's here is a piece of property. We're going to preserve your access to that property, your ability to spend it, to send it places by engaging in a giant global power projection competition where people compete for the opportunity to write the ledger, right? To set the state and chain of custody of the underlying property. And this goes back to your point earlier. The miners can't take your money. They can't take that property, right? They can only denial of service attack you, basically. They can deny you access to your property, but they can't spend that Bitcoin for you. So it's even better property defense because of the control structure that's in place written in code. So this is important to bring up because so many people talk about just the property part. And they say, you know what, it's supply capped digital energy. And we've monetized supply capped energy, and that's great. The problem is we could make Robert Jason coin tomorrow, make it supply capped, make it proof of work. And by the argument that a lot of people raise, it's no different than Bitcoin. It might be better. We could go on some marketing campaign to get people to buy it. It's the power projection that makes it special. It's the enormous security control structure over it. It's the permissionless control structure over Bitcoin, which makes it so impressive.